Are you ready for today's workplace? It's faster, more competitive. On the job, employers use dozens of applications you've never heard of and have higher expectations than ever before. But that's business. As a blind job seeker, you won't get that many opportunities. So when the opportunity does strike, the job, the work, the real opportunity of employment, you better be ready. And you can do it if you put in the work to stay ready. The Workplace Readiness Accelerator program is designed to do this across 8 weeks. It's 25 hours per week, but on the other side, you will know. You'll know you've built the skills, you understand what employers expect, and you'll know how to accomplish it when you get there. You're blind, which means we've got to be twice as great to be considered half as good. So stay ready, be ready with the Workplace Readiness Accelerator program. To learn more, click on vocational rehabilitation at accessabilityofficer.com. Access Ability Officer. Ability is our middle name.
Howdy, howdy, and welcome to episode 153 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. My name is Greg Lindberg. On this episode, we are welcoming back a guest who was previously on episode 133 of Eyes Free Sports, so feel free to dig back into the archives to find that one. And so this gentleman, who is from the great state of Oklahoma, is a very talented beat baseball player, in fact an all-star in beat ball, and is also a stand-up comedian. And we definitely talked a little more about comedy on this episode, so hopefully you'll enjoy that discussion as well. So let's go ahead now and get rolling with episode 153 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. All right, so I'd like to welcome back to the podcast Mark Ivy. And Mark originally was on episode 133 here of On Ice Free Sports, so feel free to dive back into the archive to find that episode. But just for those who aren't familiar, Mark is an all-star beat baseball player, also stand-up comedian, just super funny guy and very accomplished in his own right. Mark, welcome back to the podcast.
Glad to be back, Greg. You said dive back into the archives for episode 133. If anyone, I do recommend it. You don't even need to listen to the whole thing. Listen to the first, 30 seconds, because you'll hear me. I don't even know if we ever talked about this, but you'll hear me make fun of you about, your Delilah voice, and then immediately just smoke a bathroom door. And you can hear it. You can hear the crash. And then I'm like, but yeah, good to be here, Greg. So this intro has already gone a lot smoother. So glad to be back, Greg.
Wow, I did not know that about the door. Good to know. And it didn't happen this time, so you learn your lesson, right?
When's the last time you walked into a door? Or you do?
Oof, this morning.
Okay, well, there you go. there you go.
Awesome. Well, yeah, since the last time you were on episode 133, so obviously the Oklahoma Lookouts is your beat baseball team, like we chatted about last time. And the season is officially done, in the beat baseball world here when we're recording this in November of 2025. So definitely want to start kind of by doing an overview of the Lookout season. And I think, was this kind of their third official season, if memory serves?
Yes, we started in 23 when they had the World Series in Norman, and this was our third World Series in full season.
That's awesome. Yeah, time really does fly. It feels like you guys are still a new team, but here you are 3 years in. And how would you say the team kind of feels at this point? Just your achievements. I know this year you guys took some big steps in the World Series.
Massive steps. I went back and listened to a little bit of our podcast of me just kind of talking about the Lookouts and what a new topic and just line of thinking I have on who we are, what we want to do, and just what the beat ball world thinks of us. Because I think I spent the majority of my time being sick and tired of stinking and getting run rolled and this and that. And we made some off-season moves with Josh Perry and John Marquez, and we had some developing younger players. And we played in some regionals, our own regional in Oklahoma, and then we played in Indiana. And when we go to these tournaments, a lot of the times it's just the way it works, I guess, is it's a lot of the same teams, and they're really good. And so we kind of take our licks in these regionals and just hope and pray that it's going to come, be a benefit to us once we get into competition in the World Series to start beating some of those middle of the road teams. But what we noticed real early is we were playing with teams that we used to not be able to play with. And what I mean by that is, like, take the Archers, for example. We'd find ourselves, down a run, up a couple runs, halfway through the game. And it's kind of like, pinch me. Like, what? Look at us, and unfortunately, we couldn't put these full 6-inning games together. Same goes for in Indiana when we ran into the Archers again. It was a 2-run ball game in the last inning, and we just couldn't pull it out. We same with like the Chicago Comets. We were right there, and so these losses started feeling a lot different. We were like, okay, something's going right. We're doing something right, and going into the World Series, a lot of that came into fruition. Where, well, first off, we got dealt a bad card the very first game, very first inning. Johnny Moose Marquez, who, from what the regionals showed, really added a +2 runs. So I when we add offense, I kind of have in my head, how many runs is that adding? And he showed about 2 runs a game, and he has potential to go ballistic and get 3 or 4 runs, whatever. But we could always count on those 2. And he hit his first ball going to first base. He was safe, but tore his quad, I believe, or his hamstring, and immediately gone. And we're just like, are you kidding me? Like, we're, and we feel horrible for him too. And God bless him. Him and his wife, his whole family stuck through. I mean, they were at every game. They didn't go home. They were helping keep score. He was cheering us on, and Josh Perry too, he can bat as well, but his defense is what we were pumped up about with Josh. And, you just do some simple math in your head. It's like, wow, he's getting X amount of outs, X amount of runs. This guy's getting 2, and then all of a sudden you start like, well, that's like +6, and our bench getting better as well. And so, it was one of those deals where it's next man up, keep going. And we didn't let the gas off the pedal. And from the very get-go, upset the Chicago Comets, who had our number since we entered the league. And, we celebrated like we won the daggone World Series. And it was the coolest thing in the world. And then on that same field, about 30 minutes, hour later, we got humbled by the Thunder. And, we're shaking hands with them after the game, and half of them have on, like, their, like, undershirt tank tops. I'm like, you jerks didn't even suit. That's how much you knew you weren't going to have to play. You were not even wearing a jersey. Must be nice, boys. Must be nice. They're just getting tan.
Wow.
Getting tanned. Wow. And the day before, Booker, he's showing us his new wireless bases that we're practicing on. He's like, don't worry, I'm not scouting on you. I'm like, the scouting report. You're starting your bench. Like, shut up and get out of here. But the Thunder, man, they're unbelievable. And I think we've played them every day, first day, in all the past 3 World Series. And so lost to them and then beat the Sirens. And so we're going, it's a whole new world for us, man. We're waking up late on Wednesday. We're like getting breakfast and chilling. We're like, and the Fire's there, some other teams. I'm like, hey, this is what it feels like to swap spots day one and go into double elimination with the teams who did their job. And we got to go in and play the Boston Renegades, which, and they think I'm being rude. I call them the nerds, and I hate getting beat by the nerds because all those Ivy Leaguers beat us every time. And we were there. We were there for, again, about 4 innings and just we couldn't get runs on the board. And so as pumped up as we were about that Chicago Comet win, that immediately just kind of gets put on the back burner. And I mean, how sports are. It's like, what have you done for me today? That's kind of the motto in the World Series. And so we got that was the only game we played that day. That was the Heat game. Not the Bayou City Heat, the weather that was canceling some games. Our field complex got to finish them.
Sure.
For whatever reason. And so we got to sit around the rest of the day and just kind of think about it. And knowing that we got a gauntlet, win or go home, starting first thing in the morning. And they moved games up. We woke up at the butt crack of dawn, got out there and played the Chaos, took care of business against them. And then here come the Austin Blackhawks. And we've never beat them in a scrimmage, in a regional, nothing. And there we are, up 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th, and I believe they got 1 run on us, and we shut the deal and got them. And again, it felt like, like just our hit list that we have on our mirrors, like all these teams that were like, I can't wait to get feel what it feels like to beat them. And so another landmark win for the Lookouts, 2 in 2 days. And that's, again, a huge deal. But the second that game's over, it's like, all right, we got 1 more. And if we win that one, we're playing for something special on Friday. And we found out that little old us, Oklahoma Lookouts, there's another little old engine that was doing the same thing, which was the Outlaws out of Texas. And we played them earlier that year in our own regional, in our Oklahoma regional, and we beat them. And we knew they got a few dudes on there and gals, and they were. I can't even remember the team. I think they upset the Titans. They had a bunch of folks that they knocked off, and we were pumped. We knew we can beat them, and it was one of those things where it's like, don't look past them. But also, we're in a position now, like, let's not, pump out our chest too much, but we know we can beat them. And that was that feeling in a win or go home game that we knew we could do it. It's not really a cocky thing. It's good to have a little confidence and everything, but it was like the first time where we looked around the huddle and we're like, guys, here we go. And we got them too. And that was streamed live along with a couple of other of our games, which is also special because, again, we're not used to winning enough ball games to where we're getting broadcasted for the world to see. And
sure,
made it into Friday morning to face the Archers, and did not go as well as the last few times we played them. We were gassed, and I'm not everyone's gassed, but very flat-footed, and they put it on us quick and hard. And after that, we were limping to the Chicago Comet game, and that one came down to the wire, and we lost by 1, finishing 6th place in the world. And up until then, we hadn't even sniffed a top 10. So it was truly special, and everyone a part of our team, we'll never forget it, man. Like, I've been playing ball a long time. I've been in some big spots for, big moments, high school, Little League World Series stuff, and nothing felt as just good as what we had accomplished. Because I guess I just knew how far we had come, and so did everyone else. And, it was emotional in a good way. But it really, going into this next year too, that's like, all right, man, this is what we have to build on now. We're not going to catch anyone off guard. So it was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I'm curious, just like from your vantage point, what do you think kind of the secret sauce is? What kind of ingredient do you guys need to kind of get over that hump of closing out some of those games that you weren't able to?
Well, so every year we've added a few pieces, and that you're on Beat Ball Nation, and you kind of know how the league players are going around everywhere. It's like the NIL. It's like college football. Is players going everywhere? We have a rule on our team where we won't add a player unless they border the state of Oklahoma. And so we I know we're going to talk a little bit about the All-Star game, but at George Mason at the hotel, me, Tim Hibner, and Chad Dillon were lucky enough to sit by a man named Randy George and had a couple cups of coffee and just got to know him with nothing in my head about adding him. I mean, he's been playing with the Titans for a while, but I was like, man, I like that guy. He's cool. And one thing led to another. You hear some rumors, and it's like, well, hey, let's give Randy a call. See what he's in Colorado, which I also didn't know till later. And we called him, and he took a little bit to think about it, and then decided that he wanted to be a lookout. And again, everyone thinks of him as a defensive all-star, which he is. But I'm also super pumped to get to watch him and see him step his offensive game up with all-star Hall of Famer Timmy Hibner. So that's going to be a huge step for us as we continue to try and really just play meaningful games on Friday. That's our goal. And Randy George is going to help us do it.
Yeah, I know when I first saw that news, I was like, wow, it shows, the Lookouts are an attractive team for veterans like a Randy George to come to, which is huge.
And we have fun too. Like that's why I loved having Tim. Like you sit around with me, Tim, really anyone on our team, Aaron, my brother Kyle. But in that case, it was me, Chad, and Tim. And any team Tim's on, I just can't fathom how there's a bad locker room. Like he's just such a great presence, and his heart's so in it and so willing to help anything he can. And he keeps things light, but he'll also get on you. Oh man, I got yelled at by Tim for the first time. I about pooped my pants. And I didn't know he was mad at first. I mean, I knew he was mad, but like, I'd never heard him yell at me. I had pulled a rookie mistake running. I smoked a ball. I was like, heck yeah. I'm trucking down to third base, and I hear up, and I'm just like, oh, and I pull up, and kind of just jog to the bag. Well, he had dropped the ball, and because of me pulling up, I was out, and Timmy, and what are you doing, baby? And bro, baby, and I'm like, oh no, Tim's mad. I didn't know he got mad.
Oops. Yep.
But no, I hang my hat on our quote unquote locker room, our sideline dugout, and that's I don't know Randy George like I will get to know him, but I know enough that after doing this for just 3 years on how important it is on adding the right person. Like he's kind of a quiet guy, right? And I'm like we have this perfect structure of your type A's. He's your kind of whatever the saying is. Walk. What is it? Carry a big stick. Walk quiet. Carry a big stick. Help me out, Greg.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Kind of, more bite, not as much bark, or in a way too.
And so I mean, just his personality. After I got to chat with him for a while, I was like, well, that's just a piece that kind of organically fits with what we got going on. And then we got some young kids from the School for the Blind that I mentioned our last podcast. That's coming into fruition. So we should have at least two rookies that are going to join the team. 14-year-old, he'll probably be 15 by when the season starts, and then a 16-year-old. Then we got young Gabe Weathers, who's 15, that just keeps getting bigger and stronger. And look out for Gabe. Gabe's been with us for 2 full seasons now, and so I'm excited to see what the step forward he takes as well, because it's a young man's game. And I'm 36. You've got some late 30 guys, 40s, and so adding this young core is really important to me, to New View, Oklahoma, who backs us. That's the organization I work for in Oklahoma, and start carrying the torch down the road.
Nice. And yeah, great point about the School for the Blind there as well in Oklahoma. It's just so important to make those connections, and not only raising awareness about baseball or just sports in general, but in terms of recruitment for players, it's important.
Yeah, we're taking a few of those kids up to Austin, Texas this weekend to play at the School for the Blind there for a goalball tournament. And so that's kind of how we met them, is through
Nice.
goalball. Then we on the field, and they already, like, I guess it's because they've been playing so much goalball, they just felt super comfortable with the blindfold, even though, in goalball, you're not running around. So it is different, but I was just so impressed on how comfortable they felt under the blindfold, and aggressive, controlled aggression, going after balls and, running full speed to their first bag. I was like, huh, all right.
Wow. That's definitely uncommon for sure. So yeah, let's get into the All-Star Showcase. I know you referenced this event was held at George Mason University in Virginia back in October, and you were invited as an All-Star, so I'm definitely curious about just what it meant to attend, and just if you want to recap the event from your standpoint.
Yeah, a true honor to play in the All-Star game. I've gotten to do it each year now, and it's a personal goal of mine, and I'm not a, team first, everything team first, but it's good to have these personal goals, especially something like that, because the more you achieve that, the better the team's going to be anyway. So kind of organically works for both. But got invited back, and this year we had an awesome lookout presence because, Timmy Hibner, who, and I could go on and on about Tim, and everyone knows him. He's been pitching since the early 80s, got, 4 or 5 world championship rings. He Hall of Famer, and, he came on to our team, and every year he's been, a top 5, top 6 pitcher. Those first couple years, to the core of us that hadn't even played beat ball, right? And the lookouts also, and anyone who doesn't believe me, go look at the stats. Our bench gets more game than anyone, in the league. And it's not always just because we're trying to get them game, and we count on them because people get hurt all the time. It's a gauntlet of a week, and so someone's number's going to get called, but everyone contributed. But what I'm getting at is he wasn't pitching to the who he's used to been pitching to his last 20 years, and so just goes to show how great Tim is. And then I got to see what it looks like with some of the greatest players in our league, which is a huge reason I love going to the All-Star game. Honestly, like, once I step between the lines, like, it's like all ball. But until then, what I love most is getting to know and meet and hang out with these players that you never get to meet because, it's a handshake line. You don't get to meet anyone during that. And then you might bump into them at the bar at the hotel or something, but you really get to know these other players, and hanging out at the hotel. And it was a great hotel. Shout out to Jason Frazier and Mind's Eye for setting it up. And George Mason, man, beautiful. Like their intramural field, like, complex. Yeah, I went to OSU for a little bit for college, and even their complex for intramurals, like, just didn't hold a candle to this place. It was the greenest, nicest, manicured fields. Some people might have, to my knowledge, I don't think anyone had issues with them. They were beautiful. The ball was true. And it was a joy to play there. And a lot of college students were there volunteering. I think they're trying to start some type of beat ball team through their adaptive sports department at George Mason University. But it was cool to see the community kind of come in as well and, learn about this sport at, with dudes and gals doing it at the highest level. And so you got me, Tim, and then homeboy Chad Dillon. So the lookouts we have a committee of coaches, and Chad's one of them, and that's a big reason we brought him on, is not just for his on-field play, but his he's got a real no BS attitude when it comes to what the lookouts need to be doing. Really, from the second we get to a tournament, when we're getting out to the field, why aren't your cleats on? Why, like. He really gets us into shape, and it was awesome getting to watch him coach, because I guess the rule was whatever team made the largest jump from their seed, that coach got to be a head coach of one of the teams. So Chad qualified for that.
I see.
And, everyone's got their opinion about Chad. It's one of those things where until you get to meet someone offline, you really find out who they are. And what he is just a competitor that wants to win and will put everything he has, in this case, with his team, in place to go do it. And so as much as I wanted to win, they ended up, Team Echo, I believe, was their name, and they took home the trophy. We didn't get a chance to beat them. We started out playing Team Surge, and I might get a few of this wrong or leave people out, but I know that Mark Morris was on that team and Jeremy Lopez was pitching, and we started out flat-footed and couldn't get our bearings till a little later, and by then it was too late, and they got us, which that one stung because we were just like, man, what were we doing for those first 2 innings were just slow, and ended up getting to play Team Grit, which was Mike Curtis's team, I believe, yes, and that was for the third place game, and we had that game under control. Boy, did we. Bottom 6, up 11, and then next thing you know, I turn around. Jono, he was our coach and spotter, or he was spotting on my side. I was playing short right that whole tournament, which was I'd never played short right like that. It was a lot of fun. Took me a little bit not to run the wrong direction on certain calls, but I got it under control after a couple innings. But I go, Jono, what's the score? And he's like, they're up, or they're down 1. I was like, what? How? And like people didn't do it. I just yelled. I'm like, they're down 1. A lot of people don't like to know the score in b-ball. Like it's like a thing for whatever reason. I always like to know the score. Like I don't know. I'm obsessed with the score. And and old Richie
here.
Flores, my boy Richie, El Presidente, grabbed the last out for us to get the heck out of Dodge with a victory. And so we ended up going 1-1. But also in that game, probably the highlight of tournament for me is watching Justin Holland go deep off of Tim Hibner. Tim Hibner's first home run in the history of him throwing that beat ball, which, well, it was, I mean, Timmy just, oh, baby, that's my first one. That's my first one, baby. Just running around like a little kid, on Christmas morning. And it was
chicken with the head cut off.
It was too cool. I was like, oh, crap, Aaron Higby's going to be pissed. Because I always thought Aaron was going to be the first one to get it off Tim because it's his third season and Aaron's already came close. Of course, he wasn't mad. He was super pumped for Tim. But, yeah, man, Justin Holland's he's just a freaking beast. I've gotten to play with him twice now in the All-Star game, and always humbled when I get on these all-star rosters and, I'm 5th, 6th down the list. And it doesn't bug me or anything. It's just good. It's just fun to play with those guys. Cody Jeffries. We had some young guys. Nestor's son Damien was on with us. We had Alex Quick Trip from the Outlaws. Like he was a lot of fun. But everyone contributed, and I don't regret anything. I just wish like a bunch of teams probably do that you could have one more crack at that first game to try to get off on the right foot. But it was an awesome weekend, and anytime the teams get to come together and players get to come together, we're eating dinner late at night in the lobby, and there was like a big commons area with a campfire or fire pit that we're all sitting around that we got kicked out of every night. Too loud, Greg. We're too loud. When I say we, everyone points their finger at me, which I don't think is fair at all.
What the heck? I'm shocked.
Yeah. Relax, everyone. But it was a blast.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm also curious, just like in terms of learning, picking up like different tips and tricks or strategies, or when you go to these types of events, do you kind of, do they open up as far as like sharing maybe like little secrets or tips and tricks on how they play the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I picked up a lot off, Holland from my last year. helping just little tips and tricks on your swing path, because getting the ball up in the air and b-balls is really important. And I hit a lot of, like, my whole life, I've just been a line drive hitter, and I'm in the era of no one was teaching launch angle back. Nowadays kids are taught to with that uppercut swing, which is crazy because they're all just like, yeah, strike out a million times, it doesn't matter, but launch angle, and so it's taken me a long time to adjust and get that muscle memory of I'm sitting here with a bat in my hand. I about took out my light fixture in my office, put that bat down. Anyways, sorry about causing a huge mess. But so he helped me out with that. But then, like, Jono, the coach, he has been around forever. And so, like, I was playing, like I said, short right. Mark Morris, that SOB, kept burning me on these, like, 45, 50-foot pop-ups to where I would run up on them and they would – I wouldn't get them in time, but I would have a beat on them. And after twice, Jono pulls me aside. He's like, hey, when a right-hander hits that ball down that first base line, the second that ball comes down from the pop-up and hits the ground, it's going to kick towards the line. So, like, if you take this, kind of horseshoe route to it instead of, like, just direct line and kind of play that, you should be getting that on your first try. And wouldn't you know, someone does it like a couple of bats later, I'm like, look at there. It's just these little things you don't think about. I got a habit of calling the ball a little early before I have it. Just getting reminded about just little things like that. But yeah, man, people do open up. No one's, hiding too many secrets. It's all out there. People know.
Oh yeah, that is good to hear. I do know, for example, like Darnell Booker and the Indy Thunder have traveled, to help different teams in different areas and other teams as well, maybe Austin, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some others, but it seems like it's a pretty open community. People want to share and support and try to make, these teams and players as best as they can be.
No, that is a very true statement. I mean, I've talked about a lot the Blackhawks being instrumental and the Lookouts just starting. And I know they had a connection with Tim, but even to me, that's like, man, their pitcher left. Like, they're not mad at him, but they were coming to Oklahoma for, like, scrimmages, Molly and Jono, and helping the Lookouts, like, scrimmage the Sirens one time. Like, they even have players there, and they were coming up. The Archers, same thing, either having us out there, coming up, and so everyone's willing to help a new team, and I mean that's really what it's all about. I hate seeing teams go away. I mean, I've only been here 3 years, but I feel like every year there's a team that dissolves, and hopefully another one pops up. But anyone trying to get involved, everyone just kind of puts their arms around them, and hey, we're going to teach the best we can, but let it be known when when old Jason Price says play ball, it's all, we're going to destroy you.
Like it or not, it's game on.
Yeah, man. You know if your Florida team's going to make a comeback?
I am hoping. Yeah, I think we are going to shoot for the World Series in 26. I know we're not there this year, but we're also recruiting some younger players, some teenagers, and kind of like you guys. It sounds like too. The youth movement is so important, and both in terms of just the players and also the pitchers too. So I think we will be back. Yeah, can't guarantee it, but fingers crossed.
You're alive, everyone.
Yup. Well, yeah, I know on the last episode we talked about comedy at the end and had a lot of fun doing that. Like I mentioned, you're a stand-up comic. I know you've done, a fair amount of gigs over time, and a question did pop into my head. Honestly, I'm not sure if we talked about this last time, but when you're on stage, I am curious, do you, is it, not knowing that you can't see the audience, obviously, is that an advantage or a disadvantage? How would you kind of answer that?
Oh, it's a disadvantage. I think it's 100. I mean, I could sit here and spin it and, give you some blind power but it's for sure. Like, I don't know if last time I shared it or not, but even like crowd work, right? Like crowd work is super tough when you can't see the crowd, and especially like an open mic, there's not a bunch of people in there, so they might be kind of scattered out through the room. But I had a guy once, I was bombing, and this guy's like, not funny. And I said something back to him. He's like, "You're talking to an empty chair. I'm over here." And I was like, "Dang it!" Like, like seeing the light. That's one. Like a lot of blind comics will have their phone in their pocket to vibrate an alarm, like when their time's up. Since we can't see the light at the majority of us can't see the light at the back of the room. I've missed the light when I was learning like what it meant. The kind of the inside baseball rules of comedy, which number one I learned is don't run the light. Sure enough, I'm up there, and right before I go on too, they were like, "All right, yeah, you're good. Just don't make sure you don't run the light." And I was like, "Oh, what light? What are you talking, Mark Ivy? Here you go!" And of course, run the light, and then they blare music. Oh. If you run the light, they'll blare music and get your butt off stage, and they blare "Blinded by the Light." And I was like, "Okay, note to self, don't run the light." But also funny. Just like I'm a walker, and so like I like knowing the stage. And if you have if you're performing at an actual club, luckily there's a stage, and your cane, like you can feel where the drop off is and all the stuff, and you can kind of get comfortable with, especially after you've done it a few times, where you can have some movement on stage, which sounds weird, but like for me, it works towards my favor when I can I'm not animated up there so much, but exploring the studio space instead of just sitting there in cement with the microphone stand, in your hand. And for any folks that are like totally blind or can't really see good enough at like one of those open mic situations, you just keep learning these things and I can see just enough to like see this happening in front of me, but the comic will come up, he'll, take the mic out of the stand, and he's talking, and he's casually taking that stand back to the back wall, turning back around, and so like they're doing this stuff too. And I'm trying to do that, and then I'm done, and I can't get the microphone back in the stand, and the next guy's waiting, and I'm just like, hold on, But a lot of that stuff you can kind of, make funny too. But sorry, that's a long-winded answer. But in my opinion, it definitely does not help that we can't see the crowd or feed off of kind of what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah, that is interesting and definitely an honest answer. Myself, I occasionally play music in front of people, and in that case, I feel like maybe if I'm not, if they don't necessarily like the music, or maybe they're making expressions, I feel like maybe it could be an advantage not knowing, the feedback per se. But in your case, obviously, there's, more interaction with the crowd. There's more, give and take, I would think throughout a set.
Yeah, for sure. What do you, or do you sing or just play instrument?
Yeah, sing and play guitar.
Oh, dude, I'm so jealous. I would love to be able to play guitar and sing funny songs.
Yeah, honestly, that's my goal, is to be able to, at this point, I don't really know how to write music, but step one, learn to write music. But step two, like kind of comedy, funny stuff, whether it's Weird Al or, different stuff like that. I feel like I have maybe something to offer on that front.
Dude.
So just another one of many goals.
I mean, I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, because I know you like the Sandman, but Exhibit A, study Sandler. And do you think he's the king of musical comedy?
Yeah, somewhat. And I definitely wanted to talk about Adam Sandler, so appreciate the little layup here. But yeah, when it comes to music, for sure. I mean, I think most folks know the Hanukkah song. Probably kind of his first foray into that. Maybe there was some stuff before that, but I was too young to really pick up on it at that point. But yeah, in terms of that, in this day and age, I think he's up there when it comes to that style. And I actually had a chance to see his stand-up show live this past summer.
Where at?
In Tampa, Florida.
Was it an arena?
Yeah, it was an arena setting. Yep. And I was really, really pumped about it. And, Happy Gilmore is my favorite movie of all time, the original. Love the Waterboy, Billy Madison, Big Daddy, the list goes on. A lot of his early stuff. I know he's done, some series and Netflix stuff, recently, which maybe I haven't watched quite as much, but was really pumped to see him. And to be honest, it was kind of a letdown.
No.
The show was just kind of weird. Yeah, it's hard to really pinpoint exactly what it was that kind of bummed me out the most. But
oh man,
it was just kind of odd. I mean, there was some stuff he did with the guitar that was funny. Some of the songs and little ditties and things, and he even had like Kevin Nealon and Rob Schneider, some of the old SNL, cast members he was with back in the 90s as well.
Have you heard of any Nealon?
And even
have you watched any of his, or even albums? Some of them are albums, but stand-up specials?
Have not, but I would say he was probably the funniest out of the crew that he had there on stage. He was really good.
Greg, he is you gotta listen to his album. They're specials, but you can find them on like Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff. He's unbelievable. Unbelievable. His wittiness and misdirection, and some of my favorite jokes of, like, I'm not lying. Like, of all, he's in my top 10 easy. So I'm excited for you to check him out. But that does not surprise me that he did his job. But bummer, dude, the Sandman. What's it say?
I mean, the baby voice, I've always loved that. He did a little bit of that. I feel like maybe he didn't do enough of that. And just, a lot of sexual humor, which I'm definitely, if it's done right, I have no issue with that. It can be very funny, but I almost thought it was a little too sexual, maybe some of it just over the top, or just, relying on that crutch maybe a little too much. He had a guy playing the keyboard with him on stage, which just didn't seem like they never really clicked, or I didn't sense a whole lot of chemistry there between the two of them. But in general, I just, again, I love his acting, and maybe it's just a thing where I'm more of a fan of his work, on camera versus on stage. I don't know.
Did you see 100% Fresh, his first Netflix special?
I think so. Was that like 2018 or 19?
Yeah, kind of right. I thought that was unbelievable.
Yes, I do remember enjoying that a lot. Yeah. And to be honest, I haven't watched a whole lot since then. So maybe he has evolved over the last, 6 or 7 years to a style that I'm not as interested in. But that's just my honest feedback on what I saw.
And if to give him a little bit of if there is giving him a pass, and maybe you know how it goes too with celebrities once they hit a certain point and that's not their main thing anymore, like tends to slip, and then next thing you know you're in a sold out arena and not hitting like you want to hit. But I'm also interested to know how early in the tour that was, because I've noticed with some comedians, I hate it, but it's like, I think Louis C.K., from some of the research I've done or podcasts I've heard other comics say, that he kind of ruined it because he's so great that he was able to spit a special out every year and not lose a step, and kind of gave this false, pathway of like, oh, that's what we do now. You tour your hour, and then at the end of it, you do you film, tape your special, and whether that's it seems like it's like a year and a half, 2 years, sometimes less, but hopefully it was at the beginning and he was just trying to figure some stuff out. But that's a bummer, dude.
Yeah, I know for sure. It was probably the second or third show on the tour, so that honestly is a good point.
Maybe then.
But it is interesting, just the reviews I read, since then, it's like pretty much all positive. So I don't know if it was just me, if I just wasn't feeling it that night. Sometimes we go into these shows and you're just not in the best mood, and you never know. It's such a subjective thing a lot of times.
My daughter's 7, and I can't, I don't want to be a bad dad, but I can't wait to show her Billy Madison. I obviously have to wait. But, I'm already hitting her with stuff, during bath time, shampoo is better. No conditioner is better. And so I got her doing that, saying, stop looking at me, Swan. And I was like, oh, Evelyn, baby, I can't wait to show you, because she loves goofy, stuff, right? Like the older, like even if I'm not doing stand up, like I love doing voices, and I love like even if you're not the best at doing impressions, like I tell everyone, who cares? Have fun doing them and putting these little characters in like funny scenarios. And the older Evelyn gets, the more like violent she likes me to get for whatever reason with like the characters. So it's like she'll hey do Mickey getting mad at everyone again, and so it's Minnie Mouse is at the house and oh Mickey, welcome home. Shut your pie hole, Minnie. Oh, I've had a bad day. Oh, don't make me do what I did last time. Well, gosh, Mick, why you got to be so scary? Oh. And she eats it up, and like it's just so like my family probably are like if they ever listen to this they won't, but they'll be like, oh yeah, real funny, Mark, like wearing us out. Like it doesn't. If my wife and I watch something name someone who doesn't like Christopher Walken a couple weeks back. I think it was Suicide Kings or I forget the movie, but go into the laundry room and open the cabinet to get the detergent. There's no detergent, and just immediately, oh no. And like I start doing walking, my wife's like, don't do. There's no detergent for me to do laundry. Oh my goodness! She's like, give it a rest, and I can't give it a rest.
Right.
Like the older Evelyn gets, the more she starts playing with me of just being goofy and stuff and having fun. And she got to see a play for the first time. Like the fifth graders did this play, and it's all she could talk about. And I was like, oh baby, like we'll get forget softball camp, we'll get you in performing arts camp or sketch. Like she loves sketch comedy, and I've been hitting a lot of that. Like you talk about some of those like Sandler early albums where they're just recordings of them doing funny skits, or Norm Macdonald he's got that I forget the album, but it's just a album of him and his buddies being funny in funny situations. And it's so fun to exercise that.
And some of his weekend update stuff too on SNL was just classic.
Oh, yeah.
One of the greats.
Love silence. That's something that I am not good. I'm getting better at, but silence scares me. And he's the king of, it's like he's daring you not to laugh. And like, if you don't, he's going to make everyone feel so uncomfortable. And then, first off, you got to be brilliant and hilarious to get away with some of that stuff. Like Anthony Jeselnik's great at it. Like they just eat it up. And it's like, if I'm not getting laughs, I'm just like, oh, okay, what's next? Hurry. I'm going to do Donald Trump. Why aren't you laughing? I got to start like forcing all these like things, and it just digs myself deeper. But no, man, he's the king of like just the SNL the live crowd wouldn't laugh, and he'd just stare harder into the camera.
That's right. The yelp. Timing and the dramatic pause, like you're saying, and then if something doesn't work, kind of how do you make it work, force it, or whatever you want to say. And he was definitely great at that too.
R.I.P. Did you ever watch his just raw special that he taped, knowing he was going to die and not be able to do like a typical special? It's just him sitting in his living room, like in a chair, with the camera just on his face.
No, I haven't seen that, and I didn't realize he did that right before he passed.
Yeah, it's great, but it's also like it's just so weird because there's no crowd, But if you truly love Norm, it's brilliant.
Yeah, that's another one I definitely got to check out.
You ever see him live?
Never did. No, I do regret that.
You got it. You rattled off some. You have a didn't you? You see like Joan Rivers and Ellen, and you saw Letterman like at a show, right?
George Carlin. Yeah, at his late show, one of his tapings. Yep.
Do you remember the guest?
Bruce Willis. He had Bruce Willis on, and that was the time that Lady Gaga had like the meat hat. So then Bruce Willis was doing like the meat hat thing.
Yeah.
He had like this.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
This is like 2010 time frame. Yeah.
Hey, why do you think?
And obviously,
why do you think those? I know they're totally different now, and they're all basically dead. But not literally just the show and the format. But why do you think they got away from doing stand-up acts at the end instead of not that, I'm against musical acts, but it felt like I heard all this, Conan did a good job, I felt like, of getting comics up there. That's how I actually saw Martin Norman for the first time on Conan. But did you notice that? Like Letterman and Leno, like they just wouldn't have stand-ups on after a while.
Yeah, you're right. And I've seen, like, with Carson, the old Tonight shows, a lot of folks, Drew Carey, Ellen, Jay Leno, obviously so many got their start on the Tonight Show doing those, little stand-up bits for 10 minutes at the end of the show. I don't know if it just, didn't seem to resonate as time went on with the audiences, but it's definitely an interesting question. Yeah, because there's so many comics out there that, obviously with YouTube and so many platforms these days, maybe it's easier to get your name out there to an extent. But even thinking back 15, 20, 25 years ago, why didn't we see more of those? It is interesting.
Leno's great. Great one-liners and stuff. I think I mentioned maybe, or no, not live, but Gary Veeder, Vider. If you search Gary Veeder stand-up special on YouTube, he's got one, and he's got an album on Spotify, Apple Music and stuff. But he's great, and I love, like, don't get me wrong, I love storytellers, and I'm not a one-line type guy, and it's hard to write those. But I watched it twice. In the second go-around, he literally doesn't waste a word. Kind of like Anthony Jeselnik doesn't waste one word. Brian Regan didn't waste one word. And it's so good and sharp, and he's got a suit on with a tie, and there's none of this, look at everyone, like the second they say his name, he comes on stage and it's boom, jokes.
Right into it, yeah. And that's impressive. That's hard to do, no doubt.
But yeah, man, give Gary Veeder and then go back to Nealon. You're gonna I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I was so glad he was part of this, with Sandler, and because honestly, out of the, I think there were 5 of them, including Sandler, that did at least a little, bit early in the show. He definitely stood out to me, and I was like, wow, I gotta watch more of that guy.
Yeah, you'll love it.
And then, yeah, not to totally bash Sandler, just to kind of end here on a positive note, so I did watch Happy Gilmore 2, when that came out. Was super pumped to hear, they were actually going to make it to, 30 years later, after the first one came out in 96, I believe. And not to spoil anything, but I did enjoy it. It had a lot of kind of throwbacks to the first movie, and even like some odes to Bob Barker and some of the folks that had passed on, which was cool to see. But yeah, I definitely recommend, audio description on Netflix. It's still out there. So if you have not seen Happy Gilmore 2 to anybody, I do recommend that.
If you asked me, Mark, for $1 million, what do you think I'm about to say wasn't good between Sandman Show and Happy Gilmore 2? I would have said in a split second, Happy Gilmore 2. So that's crazy that I had that twisted up with your live experience versus Happy Gilmore 2. Not gonna lie, Greg, you're the first one to tell me you need to go watch it. So I respect you and your comedic taste, so I'll give it a shot. If you give Nealon and Veeder a shot, I guess I'll do my homework and I'll pop on Happy Gilmore 2.
We gotta be fair, right? But yeah, I know there were, as far as the reviews out there, I know kind of mixed, on the second go around with that movie. But I did like it. A little quirky, just like the first one, maybe even a little more quirky than the first one. But it's, I still like Sandler, even though I was let down with the live performance. I'm still a fan. So.
Well, yeah, if anyone does like his stand-up, that 100% fresh. Some of those songs are all-timers. Smelly Uber Driver is a great song. The Slow Motion Man Crossing the Sidewalk there's so many good ones that he has.
For sure. Oh yeah. And a lot of short stuff like he did at the live show, just quick, 30 seconds or a minute, which is effective, versus a Weird Al that can write a 3, 4, 5 minute song, parody song. Definitely a difference there, but a lot of similarities too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, again, we've been chatting with Mark Ivey here, part 2, almost a year later. And Mark, it's always so much fun chatting with you, just catching up here, kind of finding out, how your year here in 2025 has been, and we might have to do a part 3 in the future, right?
Part 3? Have you had a 3-time guest?
Never have. You'd be the first one, baby. But I think you'd be.
Do it.
Awesome. Hey, again, really, really appreciate the time, Mark, as always.
You too, Greg.
To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at eyesfreesports.